actually come to a point as you're moving into those inland roads and going in among the hills and around hills and stuff like that, and so you're well away from the sea. Um, that's when you'll come upon a place where there's a low hanging tree, there's rocks, there's a campfire, there's I'm thinking of those damn Western movies too, right? There's always this like tree that's kind of short and bent, and then with a lot of overhanging branches, and then there's rocks scattered around the base of it, and then a little bit away from the tree, there's a campfire, right? It looks just like that because that's where they shot all these movies, right? Is very close to this area, so it's one of those. And so the two people there who have their horses tied um, will stand and do the hat dusting off thing and kind of hitch their gun belts. Again, this isn't the era of the cartridges on the belt or the bandolier because they don't use cartridges, so they don't have that. It's still they've got paper wads with powder in them, and they clear and the way they pick up their rifles, casually, without pointing them at you or anything, but the way they pick them up shows that those have been loaded. Like, one of them probably even just sort of slaps his extra powder bag, right, that he carries, just to his little leather pouch there, just kind of slaps it to make sure it's there. Picks up his gun. You're like, okay, that thing's loaded already, right? So, so the two of them kind of, see you approaching. They readily and quickly realize they're outgunned. One of them has stood back, and you can tell he's ready to drop into a kneeling firing position, and you can kind of almost see it on his face. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that." As soon as he sees the group of you, and the one who's stepped forward says, "We haven't heard about anybody supposed to be coming through here. Who are you?"
We're investigators. Trying to find out what happened here and who did it.
Yeah. He kind of shakes his head, says, takes a look at you, says, "So from San Diego, huh? Let's see some papers, Mr. Investigator. Maybe the governor gave you something." And he looks back at his friend. The guy says, he kind of shrugs, like maybe they are. And so they look at you kind of expectantly.
We're from San Diego, I say. I won't pretend to be something I'm not. But we have a personal interest in this. We don't. No one sent us but ourselves.
Well, everything's fine. Go home.
I kind of like look down the row of men, look at us, and look pointedly at them, making the visual point of who has the power here.
Right.
And I say, if you're not going to give us information, we'll continue on without it.
They realize that they are outgunned, and they make a quick decision and say, "Sure, it's okay." The one guy even puts down his rifle and sort of ostentatiously goes back to get himself some coffee from the campfire. But you're a career criminal before you became a lay brother. These bastards are going to send it. They're going to hightail it to whoever they're going to tattle to. The second they can.
Yeah.
So that's a given.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look at Cristobal and just kind of give a little nod, like, let's well, maybe this can't be communicated in a nod. Maybe I pull him aside a little bit, and like, these guys are going to be trouble. We have to let's
Right. Cristobal says they're not worth a bullet. I have it. I
no,
have it. Right. What they'll do is it's easy. They'll take the guns and the horses.
yeah,
Right. So they won't otherwise, abuse them or anything like that. But they don't have to. They're just,
right,
there you go. Enjoy your
yeah,
coffee. So so that's the solution. You've gained.
yeah,
So all right. The the temptation on their part to threaten, you don't dare mess with us, we work for the Obispos, that kind of thing. Yeah, they don't even they start to talk that way, and then they realize that's a bad idea. So
yeah,
so all right, you'll proceed. In there you will come upon evidence of violence when you get to the area with the corrals and the first pastures and things like that. You'll see some dead farm animals. You'll see some dead bodies. Nobody's cleaned up. And you'll even see one family of Diegueños who is obviously recovered a body and is taking it away, right? And that's off in the distance. And so as you come upon a little further, you'll come to this place where there's a farmhouse which is not demolished by fire, but it's been burnt partly, and a barn which is completely demolished. I mean, a smoking ruin. And if that's what you see, there are other cottages and things like that scattered around, some of which have been destroyed. Remember, they struck at those first.
Mhm.
So there is carnage, out of your immediate sight. In the kind of courtyard area, there are some horses that have been gathered up. There are some men who are standing around, apparently having a conversation. And the that's what you'll see from where you are. There are a few other people, men with nobody's armed that you can see. I mean, they're not packing rifles and stuff like that. That seems to be over. But there are people who are going through some of the storehouses and other outlying buildings and effectively looting them. Then there are wagons. There's at least one wagon that's clearly been piled with loot. Much more in the order of stores, useful items. So when I say loot, I don't mean candlesticks. I mean sacks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Probably, at a guess, the majority of people here are probably rounding up the cattle and horses. But that's not something you'll see from where you are right now. That is, however, exactly what Luna and her companions will see as you come into the range territory of the Malero Ranch, which is, you will see that the horses are being rounded up and contained in the small corral at the edge of the big range. Obviously, they're going to take the horses once they catch them all and stick them in that little corral.
Oh.
So people are engaged in doing that. So that's what you're confronted with when you finally ride onto the land. This is before the period of barbed wire. So the limits of these ranges are not established by barbed wire. They are probably gray zones. if the ranches are adjoining. If the ranches aren't adjoining, then there's kind of a no man's territory where stock can, wander onto, and it's part of everybody's job to get your stock back and not
Yeah.
the other guy. So it's not like you have to clip a fence, or it's not like you cross a particular fence. It's more like, well, we're around this hill and we forded this river, so we're on our land now.
Yeah.
That's when you'll spot the activity that I mentioned. So that's our context.
How many people are involved in gathering up the horses?
Just two.
What do you say? Just you.
Right. I mean, this is just one part of the range, and it's not like they're in a rush. So just two skilled cowpunchers, two skilled horsemen can easily, block the horses from going this way while the other one chivies them into the corral. So it's work, but it's not something that you need 10 guys for. So
I think we try to if it's possible to move past them. I'm not that interested in the horses right now. I'm more interested to find out what happens to the rest of the family and to the if it's possible, I sort of round them or move around them closer to the house.
Okay. Stealth is not really an option. It's the middle of the day. It's it's wide open range country. You're 5 people on horseback. It's
then we just ride straight up to them.
Okay.
Instead.
Mm-hmm.
So, and depending on how they react when we start to get closer, we'll see.
Okay. Well, the reaction will be shock. You are recognizable. And one of these fellows who, this is classic Western gear. We're talking about a bandana around the neck. We're talking about the cowboy hat, which is Mexican.
Yeah.
Can we all just admit that now? And then I'm thinking the Levi's Jeans Company began, I think. I'm trying to think. I think it's actually at this period. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's later, like 1870 or something. But I thought it was earlier. I thought the first canvas, dungarees were being, heavy weave, but wearable pants were. Anyway, I'll have to look it up. I don't know if he's wearing Levi's or not. It just struck me as I was wondering whether he is. So the first one to notice you is the one who's out and about, chasing horses, rather than getting them closer to the corral. And he will take one look at you, and take one look and shout to the one back at the smaller corral or near it, and then we'll attempt to ride back in that direction. The other fellow will take a little longer to figure out what's going on. Once he does, he's going to try and bolt his horse out of that area and back toward the main house as fast as he can.
Okay. I tell the other 4 men to take the one that's left, and I lift my rifle and I line it on the one that's riding away.
Excellent. Okay.
And try to shoot him.
Let's see. Actually,
Yeah.
now that we're thinking about it, you actually will have to dismount.
Yeah.
And you'll have to probably go into a kneeling position. Right. To,
Yeah. Sounds.
yeah, this
sounds
isn't
good
a
if-
Winchester that you can stand, easily. Right.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
this distance to get some
Yeah.
precision.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
So-
damn good with a rifle, 2 dice. And 2 from you.
Yeah.
4 dice. And I'm putting 3 dice from the
Oh,
pool
goodness.
into the.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I get a 1.
All right. How would you like to do this?
I think at this one I take another die for the pool.
Okay.
Still.
Yeah,
Fun.
no problem at all. There's the since you're right there. I mean, the report of the rifle, right, and the resulting smoke, basically rocks you. Right, the rifle jerks up and you rock back on your braced leg. And when you blink, it's kind of like you point, you aim, you shoot this thing, then everything's confusion, and then you're like,
Yeah.
What happens? And you're just in time to see what looks like him riding along like normal. The horse just keeps going, and he just pitches sideways out of the saddle. So I mean, your bullet just passed right through him, and he died on the spot and went along and then pitched out. So you got him, right? The other fellow, at first, they had just kind of pointed their guns at him, and he was doing this, but and looking back at his friend and the men, upon seeing you do that, one of them just shrugs and shoots him. So and one of the others kind of looks at the guy like poor bastard, kind of crosses himself.
Well, I get
So-
back up on the horse and ride towards them, and then we continue on towards
Okay.
the main house.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'd say that it's probably about time. My brain will probably give out in a second, but I do want to know what Hans, what do you say?
I think we're just so we met with the group of 2 guys, and it's clear that I don't know if we know. Well, they didn't give us any detail about where they're from or who they're with, but we know that they're Californios. So it sort of corroborates what we've been told about who did this. So yeah, I think we are just going towards. We saw that burned barn. We're going towards the ranch and seeing, trying to find who we can find, whether it's Dueños here trying to get their shit together, or whether it's rancheros who are trying.
The people that you see in the main central area that I was talking about,
Yeah.
they're definitely California ranchers. The reason I was a little vague is because 2 of them are dressed very, very out of town. They aren't wearing work and cowpoke clothes at all. And you don't know any of the others, but they are people who are not laborers. They are not refugees. They are not. So they look like they're in charge, basically.
Yeah. Presuming that there's not much opportunity, like you said, for stealth at this point where we are, I think we're gonna ride up and confront them.
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, I think that's probably where we need to stop. Yeah. Okay, guys.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So,
I'm kind of scared.
yeah. It didn't go too well last time. It was a gunfight.
I know. Well, it's
Big. Oh, so it did.
yeah.
So
All right.
Clash
Thanks,
at the Ring.
thanks
Yeah.
guys, very much.
Yeah.
thank
Talk
you.
to you later on.